I love making these American flags. Stick around, I'll show you how to do this step by step.
Bill Schaudt Wood Creations, we bring logs to life.
First step of the process, come down to the log yard and try to find a slab that's going to fit my project. These are 2 1/4 inch slabs that are milled right here on our property. And so what I need to do is today's project is going to be making a flag, American flag. So normally my flags are 36 inches long by somewhere around 22, 23 inches high. So down here it's a little tough. I'm going to start measuring and find which pile is going to best fit my project. Now that I got the pile up here, I'm gonna go ahead and shim the wood up. So I'm gonna work right off of the forks of the bobcat. That way, as I get down further, I can jump in, lift the forks up. I don't have to do a lot of bending over. So if you look on the wood here on the ends, there's checking at the ends of the boards. I just go ahead and grab my square, just eyeball it. I'm gonna cut this off just so it's, we're gonna start with the checks. So my flags for the large flags are 36 inches long, and like I said, somewhere around 22, 23 inches tall. Sometimes I can get away with it a little bit smaller. It all depends on what the slab gives me. So for instance, this slab is around 20 inches. I can make that work. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure out 36. Grab my square. Give it a little line. Well, I went and grabbed my little battery. So this is a steel 220. It makes it nice when I'm just doing like single cuts. So I'm not starting it, letting it run, putting it down, shutting it off, moving on to my next cut. For these simple little cuts, this is a grab and go saw, and it saves you a lot of time. So I went ahead and rough sanded my slab, and I went ahead and measured everything. Sometimes on my other flags, I do 8 stripes, sometimes I do 6. And the reason behind that is because I go ahead and letter on my flags. So if you look at these, this one, I'm gonna actually have the whole Pledge of Allegiance on my stripes. And then on this one, it'll be the Second Amendment. So I'm gonna have the whole writing of the Second Amendment out on my flag. So, but with this one, this is just gonna be plain 13 stripes, 50 stars, and I just kind of rough it out. I don't want it to be exact. A lot of people are gluing 2x4s up. This saves a whole extra step. If you can go to your local sawmill and find somebody that has, you know, a decent size slab. These are 2 1/4, like I said before. So that saves one whole step of doing the glue up process. It's one whole solid piece of wood. And doing it this way kind of adds your own rustic charm. How I measure these is I take my slab. This one is 35.5 long. And then it still has the live edge on it. but this is about 20.5 inches high. So what I do is go 20.5 and I divide it into the 13 stripes, and that gives me 1 3/4 inches that I'm gonna make my stripes. My star part of it, I just wing it. This ended up being 10 by 17.5. And I divided it where it dropped down. So I knew there was gonna be 13 stripes. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and made my line for where the stars are gonna go. This is the saw everybody fights over. So actually I had to go steal this from Greg this morning. He was back there holding it hostage, but it looks like I won the battle. So this is a great saw for this because if you look, this is gonna make my lines just perfect. So this is an MS 140, and in other videos, Bill talks about the bar and where you can get it. So if you look in some of the other videos with Jamie Doran, you'll be able to find all the information from it. I marked my lines straight, but I like things wonky, so I'm gonna make the lines wonky. It's just a guide for me to know that they're 1 3/4 inches. So let's get started. I put my saw in about 1/4 inch, so you can kind of see the tip is just in there. Let's get wonky. Well, now that I've got the stripes cut out, you can go ahead and leave it like this, but I'm gonna take it one step further, and I'm gonna take a nice little chunk right off of the edge so it's thinner on this end, so it's more like a flag waving. Okay, now that we got the stripes done, thin this out a little bit, looks a little bit more wavy. So when I come down, I kind of let my stripes come down so it looks like it's waving. So now I'm gonna go back in and do little tiny V cuts, and that's what this saw is really good for, is let me go in and just take a smidge off. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my Airbrush Gouge turbo planer, which is on my grinder, and just start making some wonky edges. This is more just aesthetics. I kind of make it look like a rope pattern, like it's broke, and just remember, you want to angle it and just go down with it just so it doesn't tear the wood. Now that I've got my wonky edges all done, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a little torch. It'll burn the fuzzies off of it, plus it'll give it some depth with the color. I put 100 grit sandpaper on here, and I love this. It's gonna make quick business. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, and then I'm gonna move on to my orbital sander. is why we wear PPE around here. Okay, we're at the fun point now. Get to put some paint and some color on this. So I went ahead and sanded it down to 220 so it's nice and smooth. You need to find a good paint that has great pigment in it. Master's Touch, Liquitex. So what I do with this is I actually water it down because we want it to be translucent, so when I put the paint on here that you're going to be able to see some of the green through the wood. So I'm going to do the stripes. You know, I'm going to leave my white. I'm not going to actually paint it white. I'm just going to leave it the natural color that the grain of the wood and the color that it is once I get the finish on it. Dilemma. Maybe you guys can help me out. So no matter how careful I am of painting the red, I always tend to get a little bit of red up onto the white. Now to go back and clean that off, I have tried multiple things. I've tried the Dremel. Too aggressive, it leaves lines, so I went to a ball bit. This digs it out too much and also leaves fuzzies. I bought this little guy. It's not flexible enough to get down into the groove. I've tried this. It does work, but it tears my paper up. So I went on Amazon and I found these little guys. Velcro, little disc sandpapers. Problem with this is the Velcro on here is just not strong enough. So as I start, then my little disc flings off, lands on the ground, and I gotta start over again. So if you guys have a solution to my problem, it would be greatly appreciated if you could drop some comments down below and let me know what is your little go-to sanding trick. I'd appreciate it. And cleaned up all of my over paint. I personally don't like a solid flag. I like more rustic, more primitive. So I'm gonna go ahead and just knock down some of the color to give it the rustic look. I'm gonna go ahead and use my orbital sander. This is a 220 grit on here, and I'm just gonna skim over it. Right now, but if you just wait and watch the process, as soon as I go ahead and put the Helmsman Spar urethane on this red pops, the blue pops. So just be patient. I know there's a bunch of different ways that people like to go ahead and do their stars. I did get this on Amazon and it's just a star stencil. I just paint mine on. Some people like to use their Dremel, and Dremel, it's all in what your preference is. So when I line up my stencil, and there's a bunch of different size stencils that you can purchase off of Amazon, but because my wood is live edge up on the top, I don't want it to look so stiff. So I am going to, like this star fit, this one kind of fits, but then it goes off. And that's how I want it to look, because I want the rustic look. I just use Americana. This is just acrylic paint. You can get this at Walmart. My little stencil brush. One mistake I have made in the past, and I will never make it again. We were at a show. I had a nice elderly veteran come up to me and say, "Ma'am, I love your flag, but you put the star upside down." I'm like, oh, and that was probably 12 years ago. So I will never make that mistake again. And then you go ahead and do little circular motions. Some people like to bounce, but the bristles go down under your star. So if you just give it a nice little swirl, it keeps your bristles from sliding under your stencil. Voila! Next step in the process is I'm going to hit it with some airbrush. I use golden airbrush paint, and I just got this airbrush from Harbor Freight. Wait and let it all dry until we're ready for some finish. So the product we use is a min wax product. It's Helmsman Spar urethane. This particular one is a clear satin. Well, here we go. Watch the magic happen from dull, boring red to watching it pop. There it is. So you can see the color change from the white pine, how light the wood is, to when you go ahead and put the finish on it. That little bit of UV protectant that's in this product kind of gives it more of a rustic feel. Here's our final product all finished up. On the back, you can go ahead and insert a wire and with some screws, and that'll be perfect for hanging. A lot of versatility with this. We can go ahead and customize it with either the Pledge of Allegiance on it, Second Amendment, we can do 1776. Wherever you can be creative with this, just go with it. Also, wink, wink. This is a shippable item, so I can have this to you. If you like the product and want to see more, please give us a like and subscribe. And any comments that you have, please drop it in the box below. Thank you.